Somewhere in Indiana today, someone is going to get a tornado. And by tomorrow evening, that same neighborhood could be watching snow come down. Wind gusts approaching hurricane force, that's 75 miles per hour or higher, are on the table for the enhanced risk zone starting this afternoon. And the same counties that got hammered just 2 weeks ago are sitting right back in the path of this thing today. We have a level 3 enhanced risk, 3 out of 5 on the SPC scale, covering Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, with a slight risk from western Pennsylvania all the way back to just north of St. Louis, and a marginal risk extending out to Kansas City, Chicago, and Detroit. Today is a full all-hazards event. Baseball-sized hail, EF2 or stronger tornadoes, and hurricane-force wind gusts all running simultaneously from 2:30 this afternoon straight through to around 10 o'clock tonight. This one is not a drill, and the communities in Kankakee, Illinois and Aroma Park that still have tarps on their roofs from 2 weeks ago are staring down the same corridor again, and that is a genuinely gut-wrenching situation for those families. The initial supercells firing this afternoon are going to produce hail as large as baseballs, and in some cases, the models are hinting at teacup-sized hailstones, the kind that cave in car roofs and shatter windshields before you even have time to pull over. At least 3 or 4 discrete supercells are expected, and every single one of them will be in an environment fully capable of producing that level of destructive hail. What makes today's setup unusually nasty is something most folks never think about: the lake breeze off Lake Michigan. Right now, Chicago downtown is sitting in the low 60s, but drive just 5 miles west of the city and it's already in the low to mid 70s. That's a 30 to 35 degree temperature swing in less than 10 minutes of driving. That lake breeze is acting as a dividing line that will determine exactly where the tornado threat is highest today. And any supercell that fires south of it taps into warm, juicy, moisture-rich air that can absolutely support a strong or large tornado. That warm sector stretches all the way down through northern Indiana and into northwest Ohio, which is why this tornado threat is so serious and so specific to that corridor. Here's exactly who needs to be on high alert for tornadoes: the corridor from western Illinois toward Pittsburgh, especially south of Chicago through South Bend, Fort Wayne, and northern Indiana, is where the environment looks most favorable for a significant isolated tornado this afternoon. The SPC has hatched this area, which means EF2 or stronger tornadoes are possible. And with tornado parameter values running between 2 and 5 across Indiana today, every ingredient is on the table. Once these discrete supercells start merging into a line around 6 p.m., the tornado threat shifts to a QLCS risk from Pittsburgh down through Columbus. So don't assume you're in the clear after the first wave rolls through. The wind threat is the one I think is going to cause the most widespread damage today, bar none, and it's going to sneak up on a lot of people. Once these storms cluster into a squall line through the evening, we're looking at straight line wind gusts of 60 to 75 miles per hour, with isolated gusts potentially approaching hurricane force in the most intense cells along the Lake Erie shoreline. Toledo, Bowling Green, Cleveland. Right now, there is a 30% probability of damaging winds within 25 miles of your location. So if you have a trampoline outside, patio furniture, anything that isn't bolted down, bring it in now, before 2:30, not when you see the first lightning. Morning into early afternoon is going to be quiet, just some scattered showers. And that calm is exactly the trap, because the atmosphere is coiling up underneath it like a spring, getting tighter and tighter. Around 2:30 to 3 p.m. is when the storms start firing near Chicago and northern Illinois, and by 3:30 to 4 p.m., those supercells are fully ramped up, with the large hail and tornado threat locked in. From 4 to 5 p.m., multiple supercells track northwest to southeast. Fort Wayne, South Bend, Lafayette, Indianapolis. You are all in the crosshairs simultaneously, with tornadoes, baseball hail, and damaging winds all possible at the same time. By 5 p.m., southern Michigan lights up.
Kalamazoo, Jackson, the southern counties of lower Michigan, and these communities had a nasty tornado just a few weeks back, so they know exactly what these storms are capable of. From 6 to 8 p.m., the squall line rips through northern Ohio. Toledo and Bowling Green first, then Cleveland takes a hit right around dinner time, with damaging winds of 70 to 80 miles per hour most likely along the Lake Erie coastline. After 8 p.m., Pittsburgh and western Pennsylvania get an intense bow section of this squall line around 9 to 10 p.m. There is a real risk of a strong tornado in western PA tonight, so don't write this off just because you're east of the main enhanced risk zone.
After 10 to 11 p.m., severe weather starts winding down, but flooding takes over as the concern through the overnight hours, with 2 to 3 inches of rainfall dropping across Indiana, Ohio, and western Pennsylvania on top of whatever already fell during the storms. That much rain in one night on already saturated ground means low-lying roads, underpasses, and creek bottoms are going to flood fast. And the rule here is non-negotiable. If you roll up on standing water and can't see the road underneath it, you turn around. Full stop. 6 inches of moving water is all it takes to sweep your car off the road, and that road you've driven 100 times might already be washed out underneath. You just can't see it. Here's the part of today's event that I need to say plainly, because it's the one that statistically gets people hurt. Some of these storms are going to be happening while you are sound asleep. Nighttime tornadoes are the most deadly. Not the strongest, the most deadly. Because people don't hear the warnings. The phone is on silent. The weather radio is unplugged in the guest room. And by the time you know what's happening, you've got maybe 30 seconds to act. If you live anywhere from Chicago to Columbus tonight, you need a weather radio on your nightstand with the alarm on. Or at absolute minimum, your phone on full volume with emergency alerts enabled. Because this event runs to midnight, and that's not the time to figure out where your flashlight is. And here's the question I get from apartment dwellers and mobile home residents every single time a storm like this rolls through. I don't have a basement. What do I actually do? If you're in a mobile home or manufactured housing, I can't say this strongly enough. Those structures are not safe in any tornado, regardless of wind speed. And if a tornado warning is issued for your county, you need to leave and get to the nearest solid building before the warning drops, not after. For apartment residents, get to the lowest floor, find the most interior hallway you can, get away from every window, and if you're above the second floor, get down to the first floor now. Because upper floors in multi-story buildings are significantly more exposed. Back to the temperature picture today, because what's happening with this cold front is one of the most dramatic single-day swings in years, and it's going to catch a lot of people completely off guard. Ahead of the front today, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio are baking in the upper 70s and even the low 80s, close to 90 degrees near St. Louis, which is record-breaking warmth for late March that your body hasn't adapted to yet. But once that cold front tears through tonight, temperatures are going to drop into the 40s and 50s within just a few hours. And some of northern Indiana and Ohio could wake up to snow showers tomorrow morning. So yes, there is a genuine chance you get a tornado today and snow by tomorrow. By tomorrow morning, Chicago is down to 35 degrees Fahrenheit. Indianapolis is at 42 degrees Fahrenheit, Columbus is at 48 degrees Fahrenheit, and Detroit is at 38 degrees Fahrenheit with rain flipping to snow, while Minneapolis drops to 22 degrees Fahrenheit with near whiteout conditions, and Fargo hits 15 degrees Fahrenheit with wind chills well below zero. Up in the northern Midwest, where winter never really let go, Des Moines is at 32 degrees Fahrenheit with blowing snow and reduced visibility. Sioux Falls is at 25 degrees Fahrenheit with I-90 shutting down in both directions, and Omaha is at 38 degrees Fahrenheit with black ice still on the roads from overnight freezing rain. So while today's storms are the headline, tomorrow morning's cold snap is its own serious situation.
especially for the upper Midwest where winter driving conditions return overnight with almost no transition time.
Now, while the Midwest deals with tornadoes today and the cold snap tomorrow, the rest of the country has its own serious weather going on that absolutely deserves your attention. Out west, Phoenix is at 98 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's going to hit 100 degrees across parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and New Mexico today. Record heat for late March that your body isn't ready for because it spent the last 5 months in winter mode. Las Vegas is at 92 degrees Fahrenheit. Tucson is at 95 degrees Fahrenheit, and Albuquerque is at 85 degrees Fahrenheit. And every one of those cities is sitting in dangerously dry air with red flag fire weather warnings in effect, meaning one careless spark in those conditions can become a monster wildfire before anyone can respond. If you're in Kansas, Nebraska, Wyoming, or the Oklahoma Panhandle right now, do not burn anything outdoors this week. Not a campfire, not a burn pile, not yard debris, because grass fires in these conditions spread faster than a fire truck can get there. Oklahoma City is at 86 degrees Fahrenheit with active fire weather watches. And Los Angeles is at 75 degrees Fahrenheit with Santa Ana winds creating real wildfire danger in the foothills and canyons of Southern California. That Pacific moisture system soaking Seattle at 45 degrees Fahrenheit and Portland, Oregon at 48 degrees Fahrenheit right now is actually connected to what's going to fuel our next round of severe storms coming out of the Rockies next week. So the West Coast weather today is part of the same storm train that keeps rolling. Down in the southeast, while the Midwest is dealing with tornadoes today, the Gulf states are watching their own serious situation unfold. And tomorrow, it gets a lot more active down there. Atlanta is at 78 degrees Fahrenheit tomorrow with severe thunderstorms and a local tornado risk. So Georgia folks, don't assume that because today's main event is in the Midwest, you're in the clear this week. Birmingham is at 76 degrees Fahrenheit with supercell potential. Nashville is at 65 degrees Fahrenheit watching a flash flood threat. New Orleans is at 82 degrees Fahrenheit with a coastal flood warning from storm surge combining with heavy rain, and Jackson, Mississippi is at 79 degrees Fahrenheit with serious flooding risk in the low-lying areas. For the East Coast, Charlotte at 75 degrees Fahrenheit, Richmond at 68 degrees Fahrenheit, Washington, D.C. at 65 degrees Fahrenheit, and Philadelphia at 60 degrees Fahrenheit are all in line for severe thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon, with forecasters specifically flagging hail as a concern for the D.C. area. Pittsburgh at 55 degrees Fahrenheit gets the tail end of today's squall line tonight, then wakes up to additional rain tomorrow with flooding concerns from multiple rounds soaking the same saturated ground. And for New England, Boston at 58 degrees Fahrenheit with gusty wind and heavy rain tomorrow. Burlington, Vermont at 40 degrees Fahrenheit with rain flipping to snow overnight. So the whole eastern seaboard is getting something from this system over the next 48 hours. If you're flying today, particularly out of Chicago, Indianapolis, Cleveland, Columbus, or Pittsburgh, please check your flight status before you leave the house, because lightning ground stops, reduced visibility, and gusty winds are going to cause real delays at every one of those Ohio Valley airports from 3 p.m. tonight through midnight. Tomorrow morning, that mess shifts to the mid-Atlantic airports, Philadelphia, Baltimore, D.C., and New York. So if you're flying in or out of those cities Friday morning, build in extra time because the weather won't be fully clear until late morning at the earliest. This is one of those days where the airport situation is genuinely going to surprise people who aren't paying attention to the forecast. Don't be that person standing at the gate wondering why your flight is 3 hours late. Here's something we want to know from you right now. Drop your city in the comments and tell us what's happening on the ground where you are today. Is the sky already turning that greenish gray color? Did you hear thunder this morning? Are you watching the radar and seeing those supercells starting to organize? And if there's a specific city or region you want us to dig into for tomorrow's forecast or the April pattern, name it below, because our next update is going city by city, and what you tell us shapes where we focus. Starting around Monday, March 30th, another storm system fires up across the northern plains and Midwest. And on Tuesday, isolated severe weather is possible somewhere from the Great Lakes all the way down into the southern plains. But the setup that has forecasters most concerned falls around Tuesday into Wednesday. Models are showing a secondary low potentially forming over Texas and Oklahoma that could produce a scattered to numerous severe weather day across a massive swath of the country. By Wednesday, that complex pushes toward the East Coast, and then another storm comes over the Rockies by Thursday that could bring more severe weather into Iowa, Wisconsin, and the broader Midwest. Meaning we are looking at essentially continuous severe weather from today straight through the first week of April. April is historically the most active severe weather month in the United States, and right now, the atmosphere is acting like it knows that. The pattern driving all of this is straightforward. Warm air from the southwest heat dome keeps pumping into the central U.S., while the jet stream keeps dropping cold disturbances from the north. And every single time those two air masses crash into each other along a cold front, we get severe weather. That pattern is locked in through at least the first 2 weeks of April, and the models are in strong agreement on that, which is why storm preparedness this spring can't be a once-in-a-while thing. It has to be your default setting for the next several weeks. The communities in Kankakee and Aroma Park, Illinois are back in today's enhanced risk zone. Homes still under tarps, families still waiting on insurance adjusters, neighborhoods still cleaning up. And here comes another round. A structure that's already been compromised by a previous tornado doesn't hold up the same way the second time. And if that's your home right now, your shelter urgency today needs to be higher than your neighbors, not equal to it. If you know someone in those communities or anywhere in today's threat zone, a simple phone call or text this morning to say, "Do you have a plan for this afternoon?" might genuinely be the most important thing you do today. The buddy check doesn't cost anything, and it takes 5 minutes. And it is hands down the most underused life safety tool in any severe weather event. Set up a morning and evening check-in with the people in your life who might not have someone watching out for them. Seniors living alone, folks with health issues, neighbors you haven't talked to in a while. All it takes is a phone call. And what the research consistently shows is that communities with strong personal check-in networks recover faster and lose fewer people in severe weather events than communities that rely entirely on official alerts. Not the fancy apps, not the gear, just knowing someone has your back. Let's do the full timeline one more time, clean and straight, because I know some of you need it laid out clearly to share with family. Today, Thursday, March 26th, all hazards outbreak. Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Southern Michigan, Western Pennsylvania. Baseball hail, 75 miles per hour winds, EF2 or stronger tornadoes possible. Danger window, 2:30 p.m. to midnight. Flooding overnight. Tomorrow, Friday, March 27th. Cold front finishes its sweep. Severe storms shift to southeast and east coast. Atlanta, Charlotte, D.C., Philadelphia, all watching. Northern tier flips back to winter. Snow showers in Indiana, Ohio, Michigan by Friday morning. Saturday and Sunday, high pressure builds, quiet, cool, genuinely beautiful across most of the east, the most peaceful stretch of the week, and your window to clean up storm damage and get ready for what comes next. Monday, March 30th through Tuesday the 31st. Next storm system fires up. Midwest and Ohio Valley back in play. Severe weather possible somewhere from the Great Lakes to the southern plains. Exact placement still coming into focus. Wednesday, April 1st through Thursday, April 2nd. Complex storm with a secondary low possibly forming over Texas and Oklahoma, bringing more widespread severe weather across the south and east. April is officially open for business. One last thing before we go. And this one is worth saying out loud because it gets overlooked every single active weather season, especially when you're already 2 or 3 events deep into a stretch like this one. Storm fatigue is real.
After you've been through multiple events in a single month, the warnings start to blur together, and that little voice in the back of your head starts saying, surely this one won't be as bad as they're saying. We've been through this before. Don't let that voice win today, because the atmosphere doesn't give you a discount for being tired of it. EF2 tornadoes possible, hurricane force wind gusts, same communities getting hit again. This event is every bit as serious as the forecast says it is, and the people who get hurt are almost always the ones who decided this time it probably wasn't that big a deal.
Somewhere in Indiana today, a tornado is going to touch down. And by tomorrow evening, some of those same people are going to be watching snow fall through the hole in their roof. The all hazards threat is real. It starts at 2:30 this afternoon, it runs through midnight tonight, and it covers tens of millions of people across a corridor that already knows what these storms can do. Charge the phone all the way up right now. Not halfway, all the way. Know your shelter spot before 2 p.m. Bring the loose stuff inside and make that phone call to the person who needs to hear from you today. Drop your city below and tell us what you're seeing on the ground, and let us know where you want us to focus for tomorrow's southeast outbreak and the April pattern, because this storm season is just getting started, and we are going to be right here covering every mile of it with you.